All right, so welcome to the podcast. I am here with Hayden Tobin.
That's me.
He's the good-looking single guy across the table from me, and we are ready to do podcast again. We kind of got a rough start in 2000. What year are we in?
25.
25.
2025 has definitely been a rough start.
Yeah, we had all kinds of things happen with cameras, and we'll fill you in with that because one of them got stolen. But we got it. We're back at it, and we are super jacked about updating you guys on everything that's been going on. And just kind of to recap the podcast. Let's just see since we started, Hayden. We have the obvious answer that we're probably going to say, but have you had any new revelations about why we are going to or why we do podcasts?
Revelations. I don't know if I've had revelations as much as like more people have listened to it than I thought,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't necessarily like a popularity thing I don't care about. But in my mind, I was like, I don't know if we'll make a difference. And people like listen to it and
Right.
they're like, man, I appreciated this when you guys said that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, especially when Eddie at the last Surf Tour said something that he had been listening to him, and he said, "You guys are just."
He said it puts him to sleep. Yeah.
So yeah, Eddie, we're gonna do our best tonight. I think for me, I was thinking the other day just about like for my kids. Like I think
Mm.
about like, I mean, I may be dead in 10 years, 15 years, who knows? If the Lord don't come back, which we're hoping for. But I mean, just they can listen to what God's done, because we get to tell constantly in these podcasts what God's done. And then obviously when we go to scripture, that they'll just take that to heart and they'll always be able to draw from that
Mm.
as, what has changed our lives and what can change theirs, no matter what they're going through, what season they're in. And so, I think, the obvious answer is we want to update you guys with what's going on in Forgotten Ministries. And since we are literally horrible about the Facebook post and can't ever remember to do that very well, and Facebook posts are just they're short, right? We're doing like a 2 minute hit,
Yeah.
and we can do Gary will keep it short for you, but we can do a 45 minute
Yeah.
to 50 minute podcast because I mean God just he does so much,
Mm.
and it's just trying to communicate what God does in our life during a week to people that aren't in it all the time. It's just, that's one of the reasons we started this, right? Was we wanted God to get the glory for all the different things and connections and people and salvations and miracles. And I mean, God's moving in a powerful way. We see it, and we just want more and more people to be able to, connect with that. So,
Yeah, and I think it's interesting when you talked about your kids. It reminds me of the verse. I think it's in Exodus 14. It's at the end of the battle where Moses' arms are being held up,
yeah.
and it says they wrote these things down for Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, in essence, it is kind of a way that maybe they can come back and look at this later, or
Right.
hopefully you don't die.
Right.
Hopefully that's not the reason we come watch it.
Well, and
But
you can remember my good looks. If you forget them, you can come back and see the podcast.
I'll just listen to the Spotify version. I'm good.
So we are gonna try and recap uh Surf Tour San Diego. That was the main thing we were gonna talk about tonight. Um there's been a little time lapse in that because of the camera getting jacked, which we will get into in this podcast. But we definitely want to upgrade. We want to upgrade you
Yeah,
guys.
hey, we really need to upgrade
Upgrade
the
the
camera
audience.
setup. It's all
Right.
gone right
Yeah.
now. We're running bare minimum, bare bones.
Yeah, we do definitely need a little bit of donations to help pay for the camera, that's for sure. But just update you guys on what happened during that. Cause dude, I mean, God moved mountains. I mean, I don't even know what to say, dude. It was absolutely insane. Way over what I was expecting for San Diego as far as um communities, churches, salvations, all those things across the board was absolutely mind-boggling for me. And then obviously Skid Row. And then maybe talk a little bit about what has happened since San Diego, and then next week, we are headed to Virginia with Surf Tour, which we're super jacked about. So, Hayden, why don't you just kick it off with just even start with how like God helped connect us in Albuquerque on the way out with how and
Oh
how
yeah.
all that's kind of go through that.
So before the trip had even started, we were like, man, if there's a way we can stay in Gallup, we want to stay in Gallup, New Mexico. But through Marcus, we knew this guy in Albuquerque. We want to stay in Gallup on the way back, sorry, but Albuquerque on the way there. And through Marcus, we met this guy in Albuquerque, and he very hospitable, super great guy. And he ended up being the connection point for us to connect with a pastor in Gallup, which was good.
On the way home, yeah.
Yeah, on the way home, and that pastor wants to do things, but it really was just a week of God opening up doors. I mean, he does that kind of all the time now, but it's like you can start to see, or not necessarily opening up doors, but he's opening up the door. I feel like the mission that we have with mobilizing churches, it's this big door, but like God's opening it up in cracks. And so we can kind of see more of the picture.
Right.
And so I really feel like God did that during that trip. So we started off with that. And then we got to
He
San
even let
Diego,
us stay in his house,
which is like,
and it was nice.
it was a nice house, but it was just like, dude, why are you so trusting?
I know.
It's like,
Yeah,
um,
Brandon gets out of the car and it's like, "Oh, dude, what I do?" That's probably what he was thinking.
but it was definitely really cool. And then we got to San Diego.
Then we broke down on the way.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I do have a cool story, and I don't know if it's connected, but I like to think it is. So we were going down the mountain in Arizona, and our brakes are bad,
Yeah, they were bad.
like bad, bad. And
Like
I'm
smoking bad.
like horrible. And I haven't told anyone this, but I was sitting in the back of the van. I was like, Lord, please just fix the brakes. Please just fix the brakes. Please just fix the brakes. And then we get to Phoenix finally, and we check the brakes, and they're all fine except for like the back one
Yeah,
was
it was
messed
all
up.
good.
And so I like to, in my mind, I like to think God fixed the brakes in the moment, and we were
Right.
good. But um, it still was super crazy. That was wild.
And yeah, and honestly, we needed to change the tires, so it helped bring attention to the tire. Because honestly, if we'd have had a blowout after Phoenix with the time we were on, we would have been stuck like in the middle of nowhere where it was pitch black. And so it really was God's sovereignty, even though it cost us about 3 hours and we got in really late. It definitely was God, I think, protecting us in some way to not have any major vehicle issues.
No, I agree. Yeah, and then I forgot about the whole Phoenix thing because my mind's been fixated on SeaWorld. We
Yeah.
went to we went to SeaWorld.
Yeah, so when we get to San Diego, because it was such a long drive, we planned it where we had 1 day off before.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't even know how many hours. I mean, I think it's like a 20-hour normal, but with kids and stops, I mean, it
Dude.
probably took us 30. I don't even know.
No, it was long. It was a long travel,
Long.
and
So we had a day we went to SeaWorld.
which is really cool. I don't really care for the animals, but the roller coasters were really cool. I
Yeah.
like the roller
I
coasters a
think
lot.
Hayden and Aaron rode it like 10 times. I don't even
Well,
know.
that's the benefit of going to SeaWorld on a Tuesday in the middle of the school year is nobody's there.
Right.
And so it was literally just it was like, all right, well, let's just go ride all the roller coasters 5 times. And so they were really fun. They had one that had this drop, and man, you when I'm like, I don't know why I like roller coasters because the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like tight and like freaking out. But there's just something about leaning over 14 stories with your feet dangling that
Well, I just know that when I was trying to find you and Aaron, I literally heard you screaming like a 10-year-old girl, and I was like, "Oh, Hayden's over there." So, like, we found you because of you screaming the way you did.
it's actually not true. I didn't start screaming until Jared showed up. Um,
But yeah, everything went good up to Serve Tour when we started. Obviously, Wednesday is where we helped unload the truck.
yeah.
And we love helping. Basically, what that looks like is they have a big semi truck they bring out. Might put a little picture in there if they can see that. That'd be nice.
I hope I have a picture.
Yeah,
If I do, you're gonna see it right now.
there you go. And they have all the different projects. So that can be 40, 50, 60 projects, however many those guys get, on the schedule as far as painting houses to building playgrounds to trimming up tree. I mean, they all kinds of things, right? And so then we go in there, pull all the stuff out, and then they have these long lists that we go through. And so project H1 and project H2 and project H3, those go to different hubs. But when they go to different hubs, we have to put all the equipment. So whether that's a toolbox or a chainsaw or whatever that is,
Yeah.
into H1 and then to H2. So we help kind of separate it all so that when the actual serve tour happens, we're ready. They're ready to rock and roll with all the volunteers.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
I get to hold a clipboard and tell Jared what to do.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So I enjoy it.
Yeah. And
But
then Sarah came out, my wife came out, which was really cool. And the kids were with me on this one. They don't get to go to maybe but one a year. This is my first time Sarah's been on one. But Thursday we got roped into projects. So tell them kind of how like we do the projects if they need help.
yeah, so we'll come in if there's projects that need to be started to help the teams that are coming on Friday and Saturday time manage. we'll go in and start those. So like in Flint, it was we put some posts in for them to build a gazebo, and then in this one, I don't know, we were supposed to start the mural, and I think we just did the whole mural.
Yeah, you need to explain that whole like meeting Dale and that whole neighborhood. That was crazy.
So we're in a neighborhood that apparently is like, I mean, I don't want to botch this, but it's like the border of two different gang territories. And so they'll just start tagging everything with graffiti. And so Dale, being a nice guy, he's a pastor there, decided, well, I'm going to paint over it. And he soon found out that if you just paint a solid color over it, it's like giving them a new canvas.
Totally.
And so he decided to start painting murals. And so as he's painted murals, people haven't been tagging him.
Right.
And so that's like his way to kind of like clean up the city and make it look a little bit better and more
Right.
pleasing. And
It definitely was interesting meeting Dale. You know, I mean, obviously doing ministry in Skid Row and living in the LA area. I mean, it's very culturally diverse and there's a melting pot of all kinds of things, religions, and obviously the gangs. And, you know, we had gangs in Skid Row, but I mean, really, the way Dale talked about the gangs in his area, I mean, there was gangs I never even heard of. And I mean, literally, he talked about tons of them.
yeah,
And just the violence within the school, within birthday party. I mean, it was every aspect of life within that area was gang related. And he basically said like people really don't in a way don't have a choice. Like you
mhm,
grow up in that area, you're this gang, or if you grow up in this on this side of the street, you're this gang. And so he was very passionate. I really liked his passion for just his neighborhood. Um, I didn't know what to think about him at the beginning. He was a little different, but I really liked him. Like, I think he's a really good guy. Like, I could totally go surfing with him, which he does surf, which I was pretty excited about. Yeah, he threw us into this mirror. When he said mural, I'm like, dude, we're really good at painting like a wall, like white.
yeah,
We've never done murals.
we did get to paint walls white too.
Yeah. And so the whole idea of the Forgotten team doing a mural was just like, besides Autumn and Casey, they're probably the ones that like obviously has some artistic ability. And then when he showed us the picture, it was like, okay, I don't know if this is possible, but we knocked it out, dude. And
We
I
did.
feel like,
Here's a picture of it.
yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? I mean, that thing's awesome.
It's gonna be awkward if I
And
can't
then
find a picture.
I got one.
Okay.
And then tell them about our Hope mistake.
Hope. So as you can see in the picture, it says hope does not disappoint. Forgotten Ministries, being the people that we are, we forgot the not.
Yeah.
So we put hope does disappoint, and none of us caught it. And then Dale walked by and was like, I'm pretty sure that says hope does disappoint. There's supposed to be a not in there. And so we just threw not in
We
there.
did. So
Um,
it was fun, man. It was really good. We went and
yeah.
helped. There's another church that's doing a kind of a revitalization merge. They're merging with a church that's dying. We went there, and dude, I think we threw down 30 gallons of paint in that 2 or 3 hour window. And got in there and painted the white. We're really good at that.
I also didn't know if we were supposed to start or finish that project, but we did finish it.
We did finish it.
Sometimes they give us ones to start and they get done.
Right.
So that
But
sucks.
that's a typical surf tour for us. When we get out there, we're just all hands on deck doing any project that they need help with. But the reason that we mainly travel to the surf tours, as you guys know, is the grill walks. We took 2 grills out. San Diego was going to do 2 grill walks on Friday, 2 on Saturday, which has now become pretty much a norm. Besides this next week when we go to Virginia, we're actually doing 3 grill walks on Friday, 3 on Saturday. Evansville, Indiana this year, they're doing 3 and 3. So it's the popularity, I guess, of it, or maybe just the attraction of the grill is growing. I think a lot of it has to do with how God's moving, the simplicity of the grill, salvations, praise reports. I mean, God is getting the glory for all that, and churches are curious or wanting to be more a part of it. And so, dude, we're super jacked about doing more. But the San Diego, this is what's interesting about San Diego, I think, and we can go into this a little bit. Hayden, you were with the other group with Brandon. I was with Tristan Autumn, and we started off with a church that was pretty like well off, I would say. Like they definitely had a bigger facility, nicer facility. We went into like a mega trailer park, and it's just always interesting on the grill walk we did on Friday and Saturday. The church is just skeptical of the grill walk itself. They've never done anything like it. The door to door stuff makes people nervous. They don't believe that it can work. And especially in San Diego, that was one thing we heard quite a bit as far as like the cultural like challenges. Like they're like this block has one culture, this block has another culture, the block after it has another culture, and then you're dealing with the gang things, you're dealing with different religions, and they said they just don't think there's any way that we can go door to door to actually talk to people, meet people, offer them food that their culture may not even accept, and then the idea of praying for them, they're like, well, there's no way that's going to work, and then the ideal of obviously sharing the gospel was a whole other thing, but like we get that a lot. Probably a little bit more in San Diego, I would say, than we have some areas.
Yeah.
But as we went out and we did our thing and the churches started to get it, it was just amazing on how God moved. It was absolutely hands down by far my favorite debriefing that we've done in any area
Mhm.
because one of the pastors that we worked with that was real skeptical, he confessed, he's like, dude, I've never walked through my neighborhood ever. He said, I
Mm.
didn't think there was any way that our neighborhood would allow this. They would accept it with the religions. Their school that was right by them, they had like, I think there was like 150 different languages within that school. And like he was a believer, dude. He got it. They literally got the grill that night and was going to start using it immediately. And so like for us, it's like we've seen God use it because again, food's like a universal language. But when you're at the doorstep to someone's house, it's what starts the conversation. And anything can come from that once you get in someone's world and you're out here saying, hey, we're here, we're the church, we love you, we're trying to help you. What can we do for you?
Yeah, and I think what people don't understand is that like the love of Jesus and the gospel transcends culture.
Right.
Like it talks about in Ephesians in the context of the Jews and the Gentiles that the gospel has torn down the wall of hostility. And so in the same way, like when you're fulfilling the Great Commission or you're going to someone's porch to love somebody with the love that Jesus has for them, that's going to kind of get through a lot of the things that we think are buildups.
Right.
Because that I mean, like I said, the gospel just wall of hostility is gone, tears it down.
Absolutely. And I think San Diego was a just proof of that in a very diverse, challenging area on how God moved. We had 9 salvations, praise the
Mm-hmm.
Lord. But this is the thing that's fun for me, and I love this part about it. The church has got it. They were excited about the grill. We've already started talking with them about possibly bringing 5 to 7 more grills to San Diego, where we would work still through Sin Relief, but we would go out separately, not on a serve tour, and we would basically connect with these churches. And they're talking about gridding out San Diego, and this church would take this region, this church would just take this region. They would put those 6 or 7 grills in different areas, and then they would start mapping out the roads and hitting every door. And I mean, you just look at that as a long term potential of how God can move through that with the church knocking on every single door, sharing the gospel with people. I mean, you're talking thousands of salvations potentially.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part is it's like I talked a little bit about this in the live video today. If any of y'all watched the Facebook live,
There you go.
I'm just kidding. But like when people see us leave Enid to go do ministry in other places, it's not because we're neglecting Enid, but it's because God has like this multi-tiered calling.
Right.
And so some of it is Enid, but it's also Oklahoma as a whole. And then it's also United States. And so because of the trips that God's allowed us to go on, we've been able to connect with churches that,
Right.
there is the potential for a whole state to be changed.
Right.
I mean, just in the same way that we see with Mark and Comanche First Baptist, is they're equipping churches, pouring into churches, teaching them evangelism so they can go out. Same thing with Gary and Cheryl, as they're doing that with the other churches in Mississippi. You're starting to see things like that, like you talked about with California and stuff. And so there's a purpose behind everything that God has us doing.
Right.
And
Yeah, I
so,
loved I love the story of Gary and Shell. They even called me just the other day, and Gary, they worked with 2 churches outside of the Meridian area, kind of on the edges, that went out. And those 2 churches, Gary said, those 2 churches, people that were a part of him, led 14 people to Jesus.
mm,
And they obviously they got the bug after that.
yeah,
But there's a church down in Pensacola that's been hearing about God, what God's been doing through the Meridian mobilization, and they're going to go down there in the next month or so to help do a grill walk with a church plant that's going to go happen down there. And like that's where I believe true revival comes through. Like
yeah,
it's churches mobilizing, being obedient to the calling that God's put on our life to go. And as we go and we take the gospel to people's front doors or wherever they're at, like that's where you're gonna see lives changed. I think you eliminate the emotional factor of rock concerts and all these hypo motion things, and it's like, dude, when you take the gospel, there's this real authentic thing when you step into someone's junk in their life where they're at. And I'm not gonna manipulate you, dude. I'm here because I love you. I want to
Yeah.
give you the hamburgers. I want to help you with this physical need, but I'm genuinely at your door because Jesus sent me here. Like that's why I'm
Yeah.
here. And I just that's where you see real authentic change with I think outreaches like that. And so we did have a different experience with San Diego. We got to serve with disaster relief. That was really fun.
That was so much fun.
I don't know if they knew how to swallow forgotten ministries. We brought a whole lot of energy into that room.
I got like 8 different jobs.
Yeah.
I kept getting moved, and then people would get mad at me, and I was like, "You talk to the leader, okay?" And then all of a sudden, I didn't have a job anymore.
The food was
So,
amazing though.
oh yeah, super good. They did a great job.
Yeah, and then afterwards, we had a little bit of leftovers, and so it was like we were looking. It was like, well, we'll take care of it. We'll find somewhere
Yeah,
to take it. And we kept on driving down a road in San Diego that we kept on seeing like
just
this.
yeah,
It
like homeless camp,
was like
just
a homeless,
hundreds of them.
but it wasn't like under an underpass. It was like an organized like
Reserve.
tent
Yeah,
in a chain link fence area, and we're like, it's got to be the city or something. So
yeah,
we wandered around for like 30 minutes trying to find how to get into it. And it was a really weird gated area. We did get back there and there was a security guard actually. We told him that we had a gang load of food and they let us in there, dude. We served
yeah.
how many did we serve that night?
I don't know, a lot, but there is like a little clip. I've got little phone video clips that I can
Yeah, put it
share.
there.
They're not super. I mean, they're good clips, but they don't paint the whole picture.
Right. Yeah, we can show you that. And it was really fun. They were very thankful. I mean, I bet you we served 200 people. I mean, if I had to guess.
There's
It's
a lot
pretty
of
close to that
people.
because that one, I think they had around 250 tents there, and then there was another one, the big camp, that was like 400 to 500
Yeah,
tents or
somehow
so.
the 250 camp or tent camp wasn't the big one.
Yeah, but we set up on some tables. Dude, I'm telling you, like when we said we fed people, like we brought the plates, everything, and like
Just
Tristan and Hayden
mounds.
were like mounding the plate with food, and like when it was normally full for someone, they're like, "No, can we have more? Can we have more?" And we had tons, so I mean, just kept on scooping it, and I mean, they threw down a lot of food, and they were thankful, and the people that ran the camp was really thankful, and so we were really excited about going out there and getting to meet them. And then once Serve Tour ended, we did the rally. Hayden got called out from the stage, which was really funny.
Thanks, Dale.
Yeah.
He was talking about Forgotten Ministries and like they did great except for Hayden. I was like, I don't even know how I got roped into this. And then the whole church is laughing, and I was like, I don't know all of you, so I don't know why you guys think it's funny.
It was funny,
But
dude. It was great for me.
it was
But we packed up and we headed to LA, and if you've ever been to LA, traffic does not disappoint. It was as miserable as it was 9 years ago when we were out there this time. It was horrible experience with traffic. But one of the goals for me when we got to take the team out to Los Angeles was I wanted them to see where the ministry started, which was in Skid Row, and then to be able to have a couple days just to enjoy LA, and going to see a few things, going to the beach, hanging out, just a kind of little break. And while we were out there, it just was like, let's do it. And so we did. We met up with Eddie's team from Tennessee. There was probably about 15 of them, probably somewhere in that area.
yeah,
And they met us down about half a mile away from Skid Row on Monday when we went out there. And we had quite a pretty good, like I would say, welcoming. Um,
it's a lady with her top off yelling and screaming outside of a Whole Foods, and she got on the ground and started rolling. And it was kind of like a a trailer or a precursor to this is what Skid Row is gonna be like.
And it was, like, in a really nice area, like, I'm talking, like I mean, I say it's a half mile away from Skid Row, but you gotta understand, a half mile away from Skid
Well, there's no
Row,
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, right,
Yeah,
and it was crazy, this lady's literally jumping around, boobs popping everywhere, it was insane, and everyone was walking by it like it was, like, normal.
I know it's interesting when you think about that. It's almost like Satan's painting a picture
Right,
of like, hey, look what I'm doing, and everybody's oblivious.
totally.
And so I felt like there was a lot of symbolism when we were in Skid Row. of
Right.
like Satan just trying to pull antics or show things. Like when we got down there was a this loud dance group, and they have hip hop. I don't know what kind of dance it was, but they were just do. I don't know why they picked Skid Row, but it was like blaring loud. Everybody's attention was focused on that, and it was almost like Satan was kind of taunting, like, this area is mine.
Right.
And so it was a really interesting place to be in.
So we're gonna jump more into Skid Row here in 2 seconds. All right. So I'm excited about diving into Skid Row. So I mean, as you explained the hip hoppers that came out, I mean, people got to understand a little bit more of what else was going on in there. Like, so we got invited to park our grill with Eddie's team, like right in front of the Midnight Rescue Mission. And dude, I don't even know how many people were there.
Tons, but like you get out of the van, it's loud. There's people everywhere. It smells so bad. Um, and so you're honestly disoriented, but you still have the goal of, okay, I got to share the gospel now. And so it was a lot in the sense of like you have so many things going on at once that
So
you're
many.
just like, okay. And you're trying to still, and then you start setting up a table and people start coming to talk to you and you're like, I'm trying to set this table up. This stinking dance thing was the worst part. So loud. The
Dude,
bass is,
and when he talks about like they rolled up in an SUV, popped open the back hatch, the entire back of this thing was speakers.
yeah,
Like it was vibrating the van loud. And all
yeah.
these kids and these older people got out and started dancing. I don't know, dude. There's a part of it to me that thinks that that could have been some kind of sex trafficking link. Cause like, it's like, why would you be in Skid Row performing? Of all the areas, they don't even make any sense. But like, there's these kids and they're trying to get kids from the streets to come sign up for this hip hop class. And the dudes that were over it looked at shady as all get out. And I don't know, dude. There was something not right with any of it, but it was very loud. Like our speaker we had out there, you could barely hear the music coming out of it.
Oh, yeah. It was, we were definitely drowned out.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, it was just like people are just openly, sin's just open there. Like you get out, people are just smoking meth right in front of you. Literally, that's the first thing I saw when I got out the van. And it's just everyone, people are either slumped over, falling asleep, whatever it is, it's going on. There's no shame.
I mean, yeah, the list of things you see, you could just keep on filling up a notebook. I mean, there's so many insane things that are happening. And we roll up and we set up and I mean we had 500 hot dogs and we give those out in I mean minutes. I don't even know how long it took to get them all out. We honestly couldn't hardly cook them fast enough to keep up with the line we had. But you had all these conversations that were trying to be had, and the thing that was really fun for me was um, we got to preach on it and had this demonic woman come out and was just taunting the crap out of me when we was preaching and it just kind of brought me back to the beginning and how we would just fight against demonic things and just in Jesus's name and Jesus name and Jesus 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 you just get it. And that lady finally cowered away, and then this other lady came up that knew scripture and she was thankful and praising the Lord. It was like this just spiritual battle was literally taking place in front of us in all these people's lives, and you just had this dark and light and this warring back and forth. It was like you're literally right in the midst of it. And one of the things that made me really proud down there was SJ got on the microphone. One of my daughters, she's 12, and she started bringing it, dude. She full on brought the gospel, talked about her testimony and what God had done,
Mm,
and I was so proud of her, dude. 'Cause you can preach in front of that crowd, dude. You can preach. Well, I say it's easier to preach in front of that crowd than it is some churches. Like, so it's a hard crowd, but SJ literally jumped up to the plate and she hit a home run, in my opinion.
yeah. It was good just to see it. Just, I mean, there's a lot of like other things that brought context to a lot of the stuff, and it's fun. We hear all of Jared's like Skid Row stories, and so I've always tried to picture it in my brain, and so now being able to see it is good. There was something interesting when we were leaving. There was this couple, and they were Christian. They had like Christian T-shirts on, and they were just like filming out there, but they were like away from all of it, kind of on the outskirts. And I don't know what that was. But there really wasn't outside the Midnight Rescue mission. There wasn't really a whole lot of gospel presence.
Right.
It was kind of like forgotten about
Right.
almost. And now, granted, that was one day.
Right.
There could be more people, but that's kind of how I.
Trash. I forgot how dirty it was.
Dude, there's so
Just
much trash.
piles of trash everywhere.
And they have like you don't even really have sidewalk. You don't get the sidewalk. You have to walk in the street because there's just these tents that are just set up. Kind of like, I heard that I don't know if this is true, but I heard that Bill Gates bought all the houses in his neighborhood and then built them all together into one house. It's
Hmm.
basically Skid Row, but with tents. Everybody puts a tent down on a block and then they built it all together.
Yeah.
And so you don't have sidewalks, um, no privacy for anybody ever. It's crazy.
I was really sad the Jonah Project building that we used to have down there had been tore down and something else was built. So it was kind of like I don't know, it was a bittersweet for me to see that gone, but one of the things I really wanted the team to understand, and Autumn was the one that mentioned this, and I was really excited about this, was she's like, I now understand why we mobilize churches. And I mean, the concept of mobilizing churches, and no matter how many times you say it, preach it, scripture it, there's still, God has to reveal things to you. Like, God has to reveal like his grace. He has to reveal his forgiveness, his mercy. Those are things that the Father has to open your mind and your heart to understand. And some people have understanding, but there's always deeper understanding that you can walk into as you pursue it, and the Lord opens your mind up to that more. And Autumn, she said, she's like, I really now understand. And that was my ultimate hope with the team going to Skid Row. For years, I've been wanting to take the team down. And because I want them to understand that, like, that is what happens when the church doesn't mobilize.
Mm.
When the church neglects its calling and it says, you know what, we're not going to be obedient. God tells us to go, but we're not going to go. We're going to sit on our pew. We're going to go to church on Sunday, and we're going to raise our hands, and we're going to give our money, and we're going to play church. But when we chose not to obey what the word tells us to do as a body of believers, there's consequences for that, right? Just like the Bible tells me to love my wife like Christ loved the church. Well, if I choose not to do that, there's consequences for that. There's consequences all the time when we disobey what God tells us to do.
Mm.
And so when the church chooses to disobey and not go to the highways and the byways and to the ends of the earth, okay, well, we'll see what happens, because in this neighborhood, in this neighborhood, in this neighborhood, there's lawlessness, absolute lawlessness, chaos, addictions, violence, drugs, you name it, it's there. And it's only growing and getting worse. And we can pretend that our life is good and our communities are good, but I'm telling you, it's there behind closed door. It's hidden. It's in the shadows. But at some point, as it continues to get worse, it only spreads. It only grows. It affects more people. It affects more generations. And before long, you got, in my opinion, an irreversible situation. Skid Row, I don't believe can be fixed.
Mhm.
It's that bad. And yet God allows it to exist. I believe a lot of reasons to help train, teach churches, give them a platform to go out and to learn how to evangelize and different things like that. That's probably another podcast. Um, but my, but as we see what happens when a church doesn't mobilize, Skid Row's the worst example, right? And you guys seen it, and it's like, now, like Autumn, what she said, she's like, I understand why we have to mobilize these churches, because if the church mobilizes, there's hope. There's
Yeah.
hope in an area that it will not turn into Skid Row. And to change all the different areas that are in O'Keene and Fairview and Hennessy and Meridian, Mississippi and Jacksonville, Florida, wherever it's at, it's going to take an army. It's going to take an
Yeah.
army of churches saying, you know what, we're tired of being inward focused. We're tired of being self centered. We're going to take the gospel that we're listening to that's radically changed our life, hopefully, and we're going to take that out to areas that need Jesus.
Yeah, because like the mindset, and I've talked about this a little bit before with the churches, it's almost like this bomb shelter where we're trying to hide from the world. But when you think about it, it's not really a bomb shelter, but it's more like a bubble. We can live inside this bubble, but one day the bubble's going to get popped
Right.
because you're going to step outside your house and it's going to be chaos. You're going to turn on the TV and it's going to be chaos. And in a lot of ways, you already turn on your TV and it's chaos.
And it's such an American thing. That's what's so gross about it. It's You don't have to preach that type of message in North Korea or
No,
China. It's like when they give their life to the Lord, they know. Like, they're in the battle, they're in the fight every day of their life. They're laying their life down. And just the ideal of being a Christian, they could be beheaded. I mean, like, they get it. They get the mission. We don't get the mission because we're so focused on us
mm,
that we've forgotten what God has created us to do and how he calls us to be a light in the dark areas. And it's sad. Skid Row was an absolute reminder for me of like, okay, God, I see why you forgot why you created and developed Forgot Ministries into what it is.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down, like you're talking about the American mindset, is because the gospel preached in America is more about us than is about Jesus.
Right.
Not that it doesn't save us, but the whole point is Jesus. And so when you understand that, then serving just becomes second nature.
Right. So I will say that I'm very disappointed, and we're going to get to the finale of the unfortunate event
Oh
that we went through.
gosh.
We had some amazing footage. We will throw some footage in of Skid Row. I need to get some for my wife. We have some pictures and different things, but nothing would have done what we took the camera down there and we filmed it. Hayden got to interview several different people. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
you'd have seen it. It's insane. I mean, I don't know what to
Like I
say.
was so excited about it. Like, I was so ready to go put it all together because it was gonna be so cool. And then I got back to the van and I was like, "Where's the bag?"
Yeah, so we went to go eat about a mile away from Skid Row, and we get to our van, and our back window is broken out of the van, and every bag in the van besides my wife's was gone. So we went on a little adventure, which was very interesting
Found half the bags.
because
None of
we
our
had to
stuff in the
tag.
bags.
You
Just
had
the bags. Actually, I found my car key, my debit card.
right.
I don't know. I guess they just knew I was a
Well, we
missionary.
found we traced the tag down
Yeah.
to a guy that had one of the bags in a pickup truck.
He had three of them,
Three of them.
but they were all empty. And so we're like, "Hey, where's everything else?" And he's like, "I don't know. I found it on the side of the road." And so we went to the side of the road,
Yeah, he took us there.
and then we found everything. Not everything, everything but the camera bag and a couple of other things.
Yeah, my
Mostly.
kids' math workbook. My kids' math books. That was one thing that was
So
missing.
we are fundraising. I had a solar charger that was really good. I was really excited about it. I just bought it and was super jacked to use it on the trip. So I hope whoever has it is enjoying it. Math books. I hope that they better be able to do
Right,
pre-algebra. If
right.
they can't do pre-algebra after this, I'm gonna be mad. And then the laptop, camera, gimbal, you name it.
Yeah, the
$1,000
frustrating
for the
stuff.
stuff. But we did just to add some light. So we found stuff on the side of the road. Bibles, obviously, they're not using those. And there's a homeless guy in a tent across the street. We end up finding more stuff, thank
In
God.
his tent.
But as we open up his tent, I see something, and it's my shaker cup in his tent. And I notice the liquid that I had in there is gone. Where is so I don't know what he did. Maybe he drank out of it.
That's just disgusting, first off.
I still have the shaker cup.
That's even gross.
It
That's
was
even worse.
$20.
Still.
But so it was it was an experience. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, it was what it was. I mean, but we got a camera, and so we're back to it. I think I was just more bummed. We did a podcast on the beach in San
Yeah.
Diego, a debrief with the whole team. It was really cool. Obviously, the footage of Skid Row would have been really cool, but at the end of the day, if you ain't gonna get kicked when you're doing ministry, then you may be doing something wrong. And so, that's just part of it, man. You just take the swings, you take those days, and you just I mean, we had 9 salvations, dude, and so I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah.
And so if we have to lose another camera for another 9 salvations, well, then so be it,
I
and
hope we
so,
don't though. I
yeah,
would
we're
prefer
gonna
not
we're
to.
gonna do that a little different now, but as all overall, Skid Row, Los Angeles, San Diego was absolutely amazing. We had a lot of fun, and then literally we drove back, um, and the next day we had our first parking lot outreach with our food ministry.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was insane.
Yeah. So we had the first Saturday of every month, we're doing a big parking lot giveaway. It helps us to get a lot of the product that we're storing up moved out. And we literally advertised at the apartment complex. And
Barely. We not that we do things at the bare minimum, but we had so much going on. It was like, all right, we just need to get these out there.
right.
And then we put it on Facebook. But
And then we had 400 people show up.
at like 10:50, so it started at 11. At 10:55, nobody.
Right.
And I was even thinking to myself, I was like, dang, we got two churches here volunteering, and we really want them to see, like, hey, food is good. Like we're trying to do food ministry in their town.
Right.
and then 11:01, 150 people show up, and it's like, okay, all
And then for
right.
2 hours, it was nonstop people
Oh my
coming.
gosh, you would have thought it was Black Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome, dude. It was so we had to go and restructure our whole parking
Yeah,
lot, because we didn't have a good exit plan and signage, and I mean, it was crazy,
it
dude,
was a
but
lot.
it was a lot, but we got that all fixed. We have a mission team in right now from Kansas, which we'll probably talk about more in the next podcast, but they helped us get the parking lot ready. And so we're ready to go. We'll do the next first Saturday of the month coming up in April. And we're prepping for more people. That's going to probably be end up coming to that because the word's going to get out a little bit more. But ministry right now is just going good, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
everything's really good. The team's really good. There's always challenges you're navigating through in ministry, but I feel like my family's doing really good, and just things are good, man. Things are
yeah.
really good, and
We had that conference, and that went well
oh,
in
that's right. We
Oklahoma
went to a
City.
conference.
It was a really busy like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. April's gonna kind of slow down a little bit, so thank
yeah.
goodness we're kind of able to rest a little bit.
We're also looking for shopping carts. Not the ones on the side of the road that the homeless people steal.
Yeah,
We did think about that. We were like, all right, that's like five right there at least, but it would just look bad.
probably.
So if you do that, just spray paint it first and then bring it here. Um,
But the conference did good. We went to Oklahoma City, set up a booth for a couple days at a missions conference.
yeah.
Funny enough, one of the churches that we ended up working with, we met in San Diego. They're from Medill,
Yeah, and they were
Oklahoma.
there too.
They
Yeah.
were there, and so they're a church that we're going to start working with. It looks like Sulphur, Oklahoma, Atwoods, Oklahoma, Duncan, Oklahoma. Then we had what's that one up there? There was Hobart. That's one. It's a possibility, and then there was one over by Tulsa. Um, Pahuska. Is that a
Oh yeah, Pasca. Yeah.
yeah, those are the ones that look like pretty, really good possibilities,
Yeah.
of working with the food ministry, but also us coming to their town and helping doing ministry. And so, I mean, like I said, dude, God's just moving. I mean, and
Yeah.
for us, it's just keeping up with the churches that we connect with and what's the next step, what's the next level of ministry that we're going to be doing with them. And so, anyways, we have some really cool things coming up as far as Dallas and a phone call that we had with the state president and state evangelism guy. They heard about us through grill walks and what God's doing. And I'm just gonna tell them. I mean, I can't wait. Honestly, it was so stinking awesome. They invited us to come to their um, uh, yearly meeting of
Yeah.
pastors, which these guys are over 5,500 churches in Texas. And the guy I talked to, he said that they'll probably have a minimum of 2,000 pastors at this conference that they want us to come and speak at, teach at. So we have a Zoom call next week with that, and we're super jacked about what that's going to look like as
Mm,
far as obviously the opportunities through that is more than what Forgotten Ministries can handle. But that's where we're training churches now. Hopefully, we're going to get a whole slew of churches involved with helping us go and connecting with more churches and stuff
yeah.
like that.
Because
So,
it's way better than planting forgotten ministries
yeah,
in
all
places.
over.
Right now, we can only do five because we have six staff members and two of them are married.
Yeah, it's true.
And we can't even do we can do one. We
Right.
can't do five. Um,
So I think that's pretty much, I mean, I know that's a lot to take in, but we will definitely do a podcast next week out in Virginia. We go to Virginia next week. This week we still have our mission team from Kansas. So we'll definitely update you with what they're doing because they are all over the place right now doing all kinds of things. And it's a good team, man. I love the Kansas team. We have half the team's new people. We've never met
like
them.
all of them but three.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think all of the kids but three, and then all the leaders but well, three
3.
new leaders, three new leaders.
Yeah.
So
So it's good. So hopefully that gets you guys caught up. Stay connected with the Facebook if you're not on it. I mean, obviously the website, we're constantly updating things on that. Obviously we'd love at the end of the day if you guys love all the things that the Lord's doing. We're always looking for sponsors. So you can go to our website and Hayden, will you put the QR code up there? Thank you. And we'd love for you guys to think about giving one time or even monthly. That helps us just with running everything and keeping ahead of the game. But God's good, and just pray for salvations. Please pray for
yeah,
salvations as we move on to all the different things and places
yeah.
we're going.
And,
So,
and and if you write a check to the ministry, don't worry about forgotten ministries. Our DBA is actually Hayden Tobin, so just write it out to Hayden. I'm just kidding.
all right. Thank you guys. And we'll keep it coming your way.
if our camera doesn't get stolen again.
That's true. Right.
But all right, see you guys.
See ya.